Hey, what up? It's Brad with Home Love Construction. Welcome to another episode of the Critical Path Podcast. I have a living legend in the room with me.
A living legend.
In the studio. Yeah, I have Mr. Tom Cummins. So for anybody who doesn't know Tom Cummins, he is becoming a lot more well-known lately because he got on social really seriously about 2 years ago, yeah?
Right.
And just to give you a bit of background on this guy, he is either founded or a partner in 18 companies. Those basically what the amount of money that passes through the bank accounts of those is about $500 million a year. His energy company portfolio has done, is it up 4 or 5 billion now in total sales? You think, roughly
Easily.
5 billion?
Yeah.
That's how much in sales his energy companies have done in total. And he's a massive philanthropist. I really respect the hell out of what I'm about to say, but he's given almost $200 million away to charity. That's got to be top on the planet, top 1,000.
Pretty up there. Easy.
Not a lot of people give away a vast quantity of their wealth. So
Or
Tom,
most of it.
Or most of it. I feel you, man. I feel you.
I understand.
So welcome.
Thanks, bro.
I'm
Thanks
super happy to. Yeah, I'm super happy to have you.
Really cool.
Yeah. So what I think is the best thing about all that is actually where you came from, because
Right.
I've had the pleasure of getting to know you a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and your backstory is pretty incredible. Can you just talk a little bit about like the place you were in, maybe when you were like 25 years old, just to contrast that with everything that I just said? Like who was Tom Cummins at 25?
At 25, I just started my very, very first company. But if you just reel the clock back even 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada, and let's just call it I hope this makes sense, on the wrong side of the track, okay? I had great parents, don't get me wrong. I was the black sheep of the family, and they don't call Las Vegas Sin City for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
And got in a lot of trouble. And unfortunately, when I was a young teenager, got involved with drugs, and my life went the life of a druggie. And it was just so common to be able to get street drugs. It just was normal. Like we go out and have a smoke, we go out and smoke a joint or whatever it was. And it just, one thing led to another. So when I was really started, like the kind of drugs, the quantity of the drugs just kept increasing. And I was actually to a point where I knew if I didn't do something, I would die.
Wow.
I just knew I would die from, my friends were ODing from drug addiction or overdose or spending their life in prison, and it just crazy. And I just went, I need to do so. I had an incident that happened one day, and I just went, okay, that's it. I'm done. I got to get out of this. So this was like on a Thursday, and I was supposed to go see my sister in Los Angeles, who was a counselor, if you will, someone that could help. And I thought, well, I need some money, right? So I'll go do one last drug deal. And I know. So I backed a pickup truck that had 3.5 million hits of amphetamines in it. And I backed it up to an airplane owned by the Drug Enforcement Agency. That was a bad hair day. So I got busted, got arrested, went into jail. And I had 5 felony accounts against me, 2 of them which carried life sentences.
Wow.
And that was like looking to spend the rest of my life in prison.
Dude, how the fuck are you sitting here today?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you something. I was in jail, in county jail, waiting to go through the court systems. And they had these huge county jails, like, cells with like 6, 7, 8 guys in them. And there'd be about 10, 15 of these cells and one, whatever. I don't know how they figure out jails, but it was a big audience, big neighborhood. And I was watching these guys. The 2 things that I observed, right, and I don't know why, I never knew anything about surveys in those days, but I just asked guys, so why are you here? Why are you here? What happened? Why are you here? Just curious, right? Seriously, was curious. And there was probably like 60, 70 guys in this housing unit, right? Mm-hmm. And I spoke to probably half of them, and there wasn't one exception. They were either high or drunk they were either high on drugs or drunk, on alcohol, and or they were selling drugs. Wow. So they were either high one way or another and did something stupid. Now they're in jail, right? Or they got caught like me selling drugs.
Wow.
And there wasn't an exception to all the people in the world. I went, okay, that's a big point.
Wow.
Note to self, right?
Yeah.
And but the thing, Brad, that it really freaked me out, I watched these guys start to get this prison, because this is like the prisons in Nevada. This one, I was going to go to Carson City, and there was a prison literally carved out of a mountain, like solid granite, and this is like this hellhole.
Sounds beautiful.
Oh yeah, like home sweet home, baby. And I watched these guys start putting on this facade, this beingness, this attitude, a prison attitude. I'm like, wow, check this out. Trip me out. I mean, I saw two guys almost murder each other over like what TV channel was being played, right? And I'm like, whoa, this is so bad. And I just said, and the thing that changed everything is I made the decision, I am not them.
Wow.
That is not who I am, right? And I did the obvious, promises to my dead father, to Jesus, to God. I mean, anyone would, King Zeus. I mean, you name it. I would promise everyone that if I got another chance, I would flip the script and I would not be these guys.
Oh my God.
So I got out of jail. My mom bailed me out of jail, and I did. I got off of the hard drugs. It was really hard to get off of pot because I was a potaholic. And
you consider pot a hard drug? I would agree with that.
It's an interesting thing. I grew up in an area where you smoked a joint every day.
Right.
I mean, you start the day off and you just smoke a joint on the way to school. Go to school, get to your first session, your first course, take a nap, come off of that thing, go out and smoke a joint. You just were always high.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something. It's not that I couldn't function. But you think about this thing, when we refer to pot, hey, let's go get fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but just think about what that is. It's not like, let's go have a pleasure moment. Let's go get fucked up. Let's go get stoned. Yeah. Let's go get wasted.
Yeah.
So you're comparing yourself to a rock, and it would disable your ability to think.
Yeah.
So after I smoked so much pot, and then guys, and this isn't like, first of all, when I started off at 12, it was the Mexican ragweed and horrible stuff. But man, by the time we got to 18, 19 years old, you'd get these Sinsemilla buds and Thai sticks, and the concentration of THC in that pot was this. You take one hit, and you'd be fucking wasted, right?
Yeah.
Can you? I guess you could swear on this. We'll find out if I get beat up.
Absolutely
Okay,
swear.
Good.
Yeah.
So
I'm a contractor. We have a saying in this business. We do construction. We swear here.
There you go. But it was like you were just wasted. No. And I spent, and this is the sad part, because I started getting high when I was 12 years old. By the time I was 22 and I got busted, I was illiterate.
Wow.
I could barely read and write. I remember when I went into the workaday world, right? And I started my own business just to figure out how to use a typewriter. I remember I had a girlfriend at the time. I would want to write her a love letter. I mean, just simple little things of how to communicate with the world. I missed that education because I was always high. Yeah. And it wasn't like I couldn't function. I had a job. I worked in the hotels in Vegas. I could cook food. I could mop floors. I could wash dishes, and I could do the things of manual labor type stuff. But to get to where I'm at in life now, you can. And I can give you the pot. It's not that it in and of itself. I mean, alcohol, just drinking excessive amounts of beer, is the same damn thing. It's just it will affect your mental ability. But one of the things I realized, I did this program, it's called the Purification Rundown. And when I was in the sauna, you take some minerals that actually help flush out your body, right? And I'm in this thing, and I'm just do. And I haven't smoked a joint in months, right? And I'm just sitting there just like, okay, sweating away. And all of a sudden I got so wasted. I mean, like unbelievable. And I'm like, what's going on? I had this white terry cloth towel, and I'm wiping my skin with this thing. And I'm looking at it. You could see the outline of my hand. It was pot oil coming out of my body. The amount of because when you smoke, your body has to metabolize what you bring into the body, and it stuffs it into the fatty tissues of your body. So you have this huge reservoir of this drug, of this, I mean, because all drugs are a form of poison, same as alcohol, right? That's why you get affected by it. So you have all this poisons in your body. And it was like, I was wiping my body, probably lasted about a half hour. And I was so stoned. I could have taken this towel. By the time I was done, it looked like I wiped the outside of my car engine with it.
Yeah.
I could have cut it up in little pieces and sold it for $50 per, you can put it in a bong and smoke it, right? And it's like, it was crazy. So, I mean, so 25, I just had gotten the judge. I had all the letters from different priests and family members, had turned a new leaf, and I'm a good citizen now. And basically I got off with probation. So I went, okay, so I'm not going to go to prison. That was a win.
Yeah.
Right. And
it's a pretty huge win.
A huge win. I got a parole officer. I showed up, the parole officer goes, why are you here? You could tell that I'm not one of those guys.
Yeah.
So I visit, because you had to go see him every month. And after about the third month, he goes, basically, why don't you just write a letter to the judge and I'll sign it that you don't need to come do this. I said, okay. So I did. And
wow.
Then I just started working, and I'll tell you, and this is the problem with drugs, is I've become successful in life, all right? And by anyone's standard. And the problem with the drugs, it took away my tools. It took me decades of learning how to read, how to get a vocabulary, how to understand laws, and how businesses work, and how all these things that if I hadn't gone down that path with drugs, right, I could have been a billionaire 10 times over. Because one of the problems with drugs, it affects you emotionally, right? And you can be, there's basically in life, there's things that you need to do, but you don't. And the effects that drugs can put on you reinforces that unwillingness to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And it also enforces or affects, you shouldn't do certain things, and yet you still do.
Yeah.
And this is one of the problems with the drug culture, is it dumbs you down, and it affects you emotionally, and it affects you from keeping your own integrity in on what you should do, what you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
All right. And because if you're not doing the things that are winning and staying away from the things that cause you harm, you will not be successful at that.
That's right.
So it was basically the waste of probably 20 years of my life. Because then I was a teenager, that was wasted. I did not get an education, and it was right there for me. How they let me graduate high school, I have no idea. and no continuing education. And then I spent from 25 going to night school.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
That was what it needed. That was me at 25 years old, just, young and dumb. I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and good. And I think Brad, the thing that saved me was my work ethic.
Wow.
I was never afraid to work. Good father, made me work. I started working when I was 14, and I never stopped since then.
Yeah. And
I would get up and get to my office at like 6 o'clock in the morning. This is before computers, or, you were cool if you had this thing called a fax machine, right? That was like leading edge technology at those times. There were no cell phones. There were pay phones. There were landlines. And, you had to, it was this old school, right? Pen and paper. And so I'd get in there, and I was working in the industry I was in at that time. And I'd start doing my sales all morning long. And I'd get all my orders, and I had to drive all around Los Angeles, pick up all the materials that I just sold that morning. And then I would come back to the office, and I had this dodgy office. God, it was so dodgy. It was so small that you had to go outside to change your mind. And I swear to God, it was so tiny. And it was this old motel. I think I had a closet in a motel room as my office. And then at around 3 o'clock in the afternoons, the Latino guys would come in, they'd start their barbecues, play the mariachi music and everything. It was a trip, right? And then I would package up all my orders. And I had to figure out how to do that. I had to figure out how to type invoices, stick them in there, get a UPS ready. The guy would come, and around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening, I go, okay, I'm done. I put in a 12-hour day, and then I'd get some food, go to school, and I'd go to night school from 7 to 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Go home, dead to the world, get up, rinse, repeat, and and I'll tell you, even on weekends, living in Southern California, being a young studly boy and love women, and it's there was the beaches where all the girls in bikinis and everything like that. And all my friends would go have fun on Saturdays and Sunday. And I would not leave my office on Saturday and Sunday until everything was done.
Yeah.
I mean, there was not one work cycle left to do. And then I would go play. And if it wasn't until 5 o'clock on Sunday night, I didn't get to go.
Yeah.
And if it was, I got it done on Saturday, I could go play on Sunday. And I would say that work ethic and that insistence of making sure everything got done, it actually, to this day, I've kept that work ethic in to this day.
I can attest to that. I've seen it. So I have a question on the weekends where it wouldn't be till 5 o'clock on Sunday and you didn't get to go out. What did you like more? When you didn't get to go play or when you did? Like if you can think back to that.
It's interesting, because I'm normal like everyone. I was single, a young man, 25 years old.
But give me the unreasonable,
well, you know what it is?
answer.
I tell you something. It wasn't even an argument. I just had to I saw the work needed to get done. I'll tell you, go back 3 years. I'm in jail. And I made these promises to God, to Jesus, my dead dad, anything I could find that I could make a promise to. I promised, if I get another chance, I will not miss it. Because I learned how fragile life is. There are no guarantees that you get it, or you get to keep it. Because I've had things in life where I'm just going really well and just crash and burn and have bad people around me, lose everything, have to start all over again. Okay, there's no guarantees. So the only guarantee I have is I'm willing to show up and I'm willing to do the work. And that is a guarantee. You can bet on it. And I do, to this day, I still do that.
How old were you when your dad passed away?
I was 18.
18?
Yeah. It was a bad time because I was wild before. My dad was the only one who could see through my bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. He poor man, I tell you. And that was probably the worst thing in my life. It took a lot of spiritual counseling to overcome this thing, but he died thinking I was an asshole.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that was like, knife to the heart, like you are such a loser, and you're a criminal and you're a thief and you're a liar. And I'm like, and actually I was, so it was just like, it was so sad because he'd catch me red-handed and he goes, how did that happen? My mouth would open and this shit would come out. It was the perfect lie for the situation. I'm standing back going, wow, that sounded good.
Yeah.
And he couldn't, I just talked my way out of it, right? I had the gift of gab.
Yeah.
And, but it also broke my heart because I knew I'm lying to my dad, and he's a good man, really good man. So that was a horrible thing to have to, I think I've made amends to that. Now he could look at me and go, right on, bro, right on. You did good.
You gave me a great line not too long ago to that point where you're like, you were up speaking somewhere where I was in the crowd and you said something like, I'm not satisfied with where I am, but at least when I wake up and look in the mirror, I'm not disgusted with myself.
Exactly.
I'm like, okay, decent. Keep going.
Yeah. Half acknowledgement, doing good, but there's always more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing that you just brought up that actually I didn't really realize about you literally until we sat down and started talking right now is you are a phenomenal storyteller.
Well, thank you.
I guess I should have noticed that because you tell a lot of stories. But I've never really gotten to receive one like one-on-one like this. Would you say that that has been a major tool for you in your business life?
Telling stories.
Yeah, like literally being able to communicate.
Yeah, that it's that ability to communicate.
But so like clearly.
Well, here's it's an interesting thing. I grew up illiterate.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for the word shit or fuck, you couldn't form a sentence. You couldn't. It's like impossible, right? And there's
a lot of contractors who will see this where they suffer from the same malady.
Exactly, right? And so as I started to become educated, if you will, I started growing my vocabulary. I studied and taught myself, higher education, but I never forgot from where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've never become full of myself. And I know that if you can't reach, I don't even use the word average because that I'm nothing different than average. I just outwork most people. That's all I have. I've developed a sense of a base of knowledge, and I'm constantly applying that knowledge to make sure that I can do it. And if you can't write something or speak something that your normal person can understand and use, what's the point of writing or speaking?
Yeah.
I'm not here to impress anyone. I don't. This is, I think, it's interesting. I know we live in a competitive world, right?
Yeah.
But don't look at that. See, I think for me, if I have to say what are the graces, my saving graces that I have, I really like people.
Yeah.
I care about people. I want everyone to do well. I think my love for my fellow man is sometimes a problem because I will forego people's outpoints, even though they're like roaring, and I'm like, okay.
Can you give an example of that? I mean, I love it. I suffer from the same thing, by the way, just so you know.
I know.
Like overlooking the obvious outpoint that's right in your fucking face.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it'll be fine. It won't apply to me.
Well, I can tell you something, guys. It's my first company that I started when I was 25, right? I had people around me and I built this beautiful company out of nothing. Give you an idea. Right now they have the Inc. magazine. They have the Inc. 5000.
Yeah.
In those days, it was the Inc. 500.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have 5,000. It was 500. And I took that company and I built it to the 78th fastest growing company in the country.
Incredible.
In privately owned.
You know why they went to 5,000?
Make it easier for people.
Because they sell you the graphic of what number you are.
Yeah,
and they can sell it to 5,000 instead of 500.
Yeah.
Okay, so continue. Number 7.
Anyway, but I, because the point on it is your company, my company, anybody's company, whether we sell a product, like you build things, right?
Yeah.
And then I have financial services, executive services that we provide. But it all comes down to the people. Mm-hmm. There is someone in your business that is using swinging a hammer or using a saw or using a shovel. And that person is the strength of your company or the weakness of your company.
That's right.
And even with the ladies here in the film room, the people working in your accounting department, your sales area, who might be administrators, they're the strength or the weaknesses of your company. And this is one of the problems of being we'll call it a social personality, right? There's antisocial, which is just another way of saying an asshole, right? and then there's the rest of us. And factually, probably 20% of the people, 2 out of 10, are not the nicest people in the world, right? They're more problem oriented and they're nasty. And then probably half of, if you took 100 people, 2 of them are like just evil. But the problem with these evil people, they pollute probably about 20 around them, right? 18 around them. So you're dealing with 100 people. I guarantee you, 2 of them are going to just be, the only thing they want you to be is dead.
That's right.
I mean that sincerely.
And everyone.
I mean dead. You, everyone. If you're this dangerous to them now, and this is this weird way they think is, you're dangerous to them.
Yeah.
And so they're doing everything in their power covertly to take you down, right? And then unfortunately, they get around people and they pollute them and they get them acting like idiots, right? And then there's the other 80 of us that are trying to make a go of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's how do you select these people out? But the problem is, if you're one of the 80, you have your love for fellow man. You want people to do well. You want people to go well, and you'll what do you want to call it? Forego what you observe to be true.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something. I lost my first company. I had a guy, and I'm not going to get into naming names. I had a guy working in my company, and he was evil, and he wanted to tune me in. And I didn't understand these things at this time. I was still in my late 20s, early 30s, right? And then I had family members that were against me, right? And people working in my own company so close to me, right? Relatives. And it just all went to hell. And
Yeah.
it took me years, 5-6 years to build this. And then 4 or 5 months, these guys just stuck the knife in my back and we lost everything, and I didn't know how to reel from it. I didn't know how to handle things. So I lost it all. I lost all of that. So I'd have to say, and I don't remember necessarily your question, but I mean, it's that nowadays, and I'll tell you something. I lost that company. Then I went into telecommunications. At that point, it was long distance. This is way before cell phones and all the systems we have today. And we had that whole thing, and I built that up to a big company. Then the supplier of it, they just changed their mind, and we lost the business, right? So I went like, whoop, and crashed again.
Wow.
And I happened to had something going on that was producing some residual income with, there's used to be in those days payphones where you walk up and actually put nickels and dimes and quarters in it, and you'd call someone. And so we went into that business, and I boomed that one, right? And one thing, when I was first getting in it, someone said the guy I was working with was going to be my partner. He goes, yeah, he has a tendency to screw people over, right? And
Somebody told you this?
Yeah. And I went,
man.
well, as long as he doesn't screw me, I'm okay. This is really the words that came out of my mouth. Fast forward 3 years, I built this another booming company, and I'm making, you got to understand something. We're talking like 30 years ago. I'm making $60,000 a month. That's good money today. You can only imagine when it was 30 years ago.
Absolutely.
Right? It was killer money, right? And sure enough, he screws me, takes my money, and just goes, yeah, what are you going to do about it? And I'm just like, God. And so I really took the time to get educated on how do you evaluate people? How do you open your eyes in what you see? Because this is one of the things that we do, and as an outpoint, right? This is one of the things that is where we fall short on. We do it on our relationships. We do it with the people we hang out with. We do business with, and I'll tell you, man, it has been the hardest lesson I've learned is to be able to evaluate the people that I'm living my life with and choose who do I hang out with, really watch their actions, not what they say, but by their actions.
Yeah.
Right. And then once I really got better at it, like our last company that I started 30 years ago, and I still have it, and it's still doing really great. And it's made me a wealthy person. And is that, we finally just said, like, when we have clients, like, basically the law came down. We won't deal with assholes, because we get these clients that would just, we want all the benefits and you can't have anything. Well, how's that in life?
Yeah.
If everybody can't win, why are we doing this, right? So I have to say that lesson, that was the hardest learned lesson I had to learn, is how to evaluate the people around me. And then when I see it, because they're slippery. I don't just come up here and they don't have a sign on their chest that says, I'm going to do you in. I don't care about you. I'm going to hurt you. They don't announce it, and it takes a little while for that to come out. But when it comes out, man, you got to respond to it. And it's challenging because basically people are, it takes some courage to be able to go to someone and go, sit down. let's talk about this. This is not okay. This is not what's going to go on. It can't work this way. I probably would have to say it's one of the hardest things I had to do is confront other people's outpoints. Because I have a hard time confronting my own, much less someone else's.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
You know, and but once I started getting better at it, everything changed.
Wow.
Everything. This is where I've been able to just keep going on, and I select the people I want to work with. And when things go a little bit squirrely, I sit down and go, look, man, I have an upset. I want to talk to you about my upset. And you know what the funny part it is? I can't tell you how many times I've had something happen in my business life, and I go, God, this really makes me mad, or that just jacks me up, and I'm like, I'm all mad and everything, and I need to go talk to so and so about it, and I have back off, I have fear, I have like I'm afraid to do that, and he or she might get mad, or this guy, and I can't, and then I actually get the nerve, you know, it could be anywhere from 4, 5, 6, 7 days. I'm like avoiding it. And finally go in there and go, look, I need to talk to you about X. And they go, you know, I'm so glad you brought that up, because for the last 4 or 5 days, I had my attention stuck on it. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you fucking coward, you coward, you know,
To yourself.
To myself.
Yeah.
I would just like, you know, you pussy, you know, like how could you be so afraid to go do something and see what happens when you go to confront it and it's bothering them too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. So these are the like hard lessons that I had to learn. And when I not only just learn them, but now apply what I saw and go, okay, when something's up, I go, look, not okay with me, man. That's just what just happened right there.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
That's not cool with me.
Yeah.
You know, and let's talk about it. And I'll tell you something, you'll find out they're either, and most people, if you're dealing with the 80, they go, you know, you can discuss it, you can work it around, and, you know, and you get it handled. It's not like all of them are going to capitulate or anything like that. But it's the point being here is you can then build yourself a team. Is this really what it takes? This is really what it was, a businessman, a guy who can build himself a team of people who can go produce products, right? And we can sell them for more than what we pay for them. And this is how we have a business. And it's a simple process, but it's always going to come down to the people that you're working with to produce your service or to produce your product. And if you can master that, you can master life.
Totally.
Absolutely.
So question, when the guy said, what are you going to do about it? What did you do about it?
You lost me on that.
There was the guy who basically you were like, well, as long as it doesn't screw me, I'm good.
Oh.
Then he basically is like, takes the money, boom. What are you going to do about it? What
You
did
know,
you
I
do
tell
about
you,
it?
that one hit me hard. That really hit me hard. And I can tell you a story, right? I came home. I was so mad. Because I was 38 years old. I was living in Southern California, in Orange County. And I'd come here to Florida, and I was blown away because they had blue skies. In Los Angeles, in those days, the sky was brown, right? I mean, literally brown. And I remember coming up from San Diego into, call it Orange County. I would call it Brown County because there's this wall of smoke and smog that you had to drive into and live in. It was disgusting. And I came on a trip out here doing some services one day, and I showed up to Florida, and I went, oh my God, the skies are blue. I was blown away. I didn't want to sound corny, but I was so amazed by that. And I made the decision that that's it. I'm killing it in the payphone business. I hated it per se because it was really dirty business. Yeah. And I said, that's it. I'm going to retire. I wrapped up the office there in Los Angeles, and I moved everything out here to Florida. And I probably, from the time I decided, I was probably 4 or 5 months later living here, right? Yeah. And I'm here, I'm going to school. I'm like, going to school full time now. I was so happy. And when I got that phone call, he goes, look, I'm going to give you one more check and we're done. That's it. It's over. And if you don't like it, just get your lawyers to call mine. Good luck on that. And I fell apart. I fell apart. I was so betrayed. But what made me mad when I was getting all this money,
Mm-hmm.
I was spending it all like a
Mhm.
crazy man,
Mhm.
right? And giving it away and buying this and buying things that he did not need to have. And I didn't plan for tomorrow. And there was his betrayal that he did to me. But the thing that I was mad about the most is my betrayal to myself,
Mm.
right? I had all this wherewithal, I didn't leverage it. So I ended up going from all the way up to here to having absolutely nothing and nothing to lean on. I was so mad. So I came home to my wife. I was talking to her. And I said, I don't deserve this house. I don't deserve to go to school. I don't deserve this beautiful truck. I don't. And I just started listing off all these cool things that I had. I don't do it like this. I was just so mad.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple days later, I get over it. I gotta go find something. All right, I gotta go. Well, I gotta go new next because
Yeah.
I've done this before. This is like the 4th time I have to go do next.
Yeah.
And Brad, I could tell you, I couldn't make more than $100,000 a year if my life depended on it. My wife is like going, dude, what's wrong with you? You. Those days I was paying $300,000-$400,000 a year in taxes,
Yeah.
much less just making. I made good money, and I could not break free and start making money again. And I couldn't understand why not. And literally, I lost 2 years of my life
Wow.
because I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I went to consultants, I saw people, and I went to this one guy who's a consultant,
Mhm.
and he had me graphically draft my income from when I was about X age, and it just went like a cliff, right?
Yeah.
And I actually put a name for it. It's called a whoa fuck, like whoa fuck, and and then I showed him the graph.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it and commiserating about it. And he goes, what did it feel like when you fell like that? That had to hurt. What through it? And I just went, oh my God. And I went right back to the moment when I came in the house. I said, I told my wife, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve that. I don't deserve this, that, or this or that. All these things that we want to have in life,
Mhm.
I don't deserve them.
Mhm.
I went, so I've been stopping me. I've been preventing myself from moving forward. And I mean, I've tried everything, but just couldn't get anything to click, right? I started laughing. I went, oh my God. So literally that day, I'm back on US 19. And there used to be a bank in town here called AM South. They had a billboard up here called 1-800 and a snap. I called the number and they said, look, call us on this number. And in 30 minutes, we can have a loan for you.
Yeah.
So I called the number, gave them my data. And in about 30, 45 minutes later, they called you back, said, Mr. Cummins, we got $25,000 for you.
Yeah.
I said, perfect. Walked into the office. I told them I'm quitting. Said, ciao. And I went home, gave my wife the $25,000. I said, I don't know when you'll see another paycheck, so spend it wisely.
Yeah.
And I just went to work and I started the company I have now.
Wow.
And it took me a couple months to figure out how to do it. This is when energy was deregulating 30 years ago. It was like still unheard of, unknown of. And I just went ahead and did the thing, just put my head down, started working. Next thing you know, a year or so later, looked up, I went, wow, I got money again. And next thing, I'm back in my game, back in my game again.
Yeah.
So it's like it is, again, the people around you. And even that business, there was a couple times where I got people on my lines and I had to sever the lines. It's like, look, this is not going to work. You got to go.
Yeah.
And we were lucky enough that I had good people around me that had my back. And it was a battle, and we're still fighting it. We still, to this day, it's still a battle,
Yeah. So can you talk about that it's like, I think people get kind of the misconception of like, once you've quote unquote made it, do you feel like you've made it?
I'm going to say no,
Yeah.
and
I kind of thought you might say that.
I know, because it's interesting. I don't know what it's like to have a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because I give it away.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, first of all, please understand, it's not like I have some disgust for money, right? I drive a $500,000 car. I fly private jets all over the world. I have homes that are penthouses, and I just built this like unbelievable
Monster
home,
house
monster
in
house
Italy.
over in Italy.
Yeah.
I have a charmed life,
Mhm.
but if I make $1,000, I promise you, I probably give 600 away to charity. Easy. I'll pay 200 in taxes, keep 200, and 600,000 will go, or 600 will go off to charity. Because I don't want, because here's the thing that I've seen: when people amass a lot of money,
Mhm.
it's like the money has them.
Yeah.
They don't have the money.
The money has them.
Yeah. They don't own it.
Wow.
It owns them. They say that money is the root of all evil. No, it's not. Evil is the root of all evil. Money is
Truth.
it's an energy. We have these lights in this studio. Could you, how do I want to say it this way? I'm not a Duracell battery. I'm a producer of energy. And energy means to flow because if you just took a battery, like in our phone, there's a battery in here and we charge it every night. But if you don't turn it on, what good is it?
Yeah.
If you don't let the electrons from the battery to flow,
Yeah.
what's its purpose? So when the money comes in, I take what I need and then I get rid of the rest of it.
Wow.
I just get rid of it. So I have not amassed, because, guys, I've given away hundreds of millions of dollars to charities. And I can't imagine what it would be like if I didn't do that. And that's after I paid taxes on that money.
Yeah.
So that would have been my money. And I can see I didn't do that. I got rid of it. And I think I might have been lucky for having done so, because it never, number one, it kept me hungry.
Mhm.
I was always hungry. I was always, okay, I want more. I want more. I want nicer things. I like nice things. I want that stuff, but I bring in the money. I go, here's what I want. I got to pay the taxes. This is what I want. And the rest of it, I just get rid of. And now I'm broke again. I mean, and it's an incredible way of living. I don't know if everyone could deal with that, but it's like, I just get rid of it. Next thing you know, and like, okay, I'll tell a true story. I just did my finances this week. I do them every week. I know everything that happens. And I did the finances. All my assets are in my trust right now.
By the way, when he says everything that happens, because I've actually learned the way that you do I'm a client of yours,
Right.
for
Yep,
financial services.
Right.
So I'm learning to do it the way that you do it. You look at every transaction from or does it too many accounts at this point for you, or do you still do that? Because that's
Still do it.
Yeah, so I thought so,
Yeah.
because that's how we're getting trained to do it. I'm like, fuck, Tom does this? And the other day, Adam's like, yeah, he looks at every transaction. Every transaction from every account is looked at least like real quick, 30,000 foot view.
I can look at first of all.
But he literally looks at a spreadsheet. I'm like, just want to give the mass here.
Yeah.
Of every bank account, every credit card.
Yeah.
Like all the transactions for the previous week. Every single one.
Uh-huh. But you get used to it.
I didn't realize that
Yeah.
until I actually was in your office, and I literally asked Adam, who runs Comes for What, and he's like, no, you do this every week. I was like, every week, all of them? He's like, yeah.
It's
But
confronting.
it doesn't take that long.
No,
That's
it doesn't.
That's the thing you realize.
So you
is
start to get an educated eye for it.
Yeah.
Like I'm a dude, but if you and I went to a construction site, what you would see and what I would see would be two different things.
Sure.
I've been dealing with money now for decades, and what I'm able to go in there and quickly see,
Mm-hmm.
where, same thing, if you went to a construction site, you'd go, not right. You'd see 10, 15 things. And I'm like, what? Huh? What? I wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
But you get it because and it's confronting it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's confronting money. Money is just energy. I have this viewpoint. Money is a statement of your competency.
Mm-hmm.
Period. You do your work during the week. You got this much money, right? And it defines your competency. Period. It is all it is. Now, yes, money is fun to spend. Don't get me wrong. I totally love going. I don't go shopping. I go buy shit, right? I don't fuck shopping. I go buy shit, right? And I love to go do that. But even that, there's a limit to it, you know? And it's, you know, I did this for my, so I have, there's me as an individual, and then I've taken all my assets and put it into this thing called the trust. And my trust owns all its assets. It gets all the money. I get some of it because it owes me money. So I have my personal finances. My trust has its finances. And I went through it just this morning, just this afternoon. And I had a week, I call them a good year, because I came through and I had $5.4 million flow through the fucking bank account. And I went, fucking great week, you know?
So just to be clear, this week, that was the money that moved. And you called that week a great year.
I said, what a great year. It was $5.4 billion. But I go, okay, good. So now
it's unbelievable.
I went and I always leave money for expansion because I'm involved in 18 companies and I want more. And I enjoy it. I love the business of business. So I put millions of dollars away for future expansion so I could always keep moving things. That lesson I learned when I got robbed, you know, I went, I'm never going to let that happen again.
Yeah.
I always put some money away so I always have something to go do.
Yeah.
And and here's the other thing. I own my house here in Florida. I have a penthouse. Everything in it is all paid for. Yeah. All I have to pay is the homeowners association, the insurance, and the taxes. I got 3 fucking bills on this, and the utility bills, and the maid, right? But still, I own the house. Yeah. And I own the house in Italy. I paid like $15 million for it, paid cash for it. I own this thing, right? And all I have to do is pay the tax on it, the property tax, and the insurance, which over there is like nothing. Right? Really? Nothing.
Oh, wow.
Neither is the property tax. And you know, so I don't have a lot of expenses. I don't. I just don't. I mean, you know, I'm telling you something, this might sound weird to a lot of people, but if you have an excess of, let's just say $100,000 a month of just, you call it your allowance. You could actually go out and spend $25,000 and not like, oh, that was so bad. Why did I do this? What am I thinking about? You go, yeah, okay, whatever. You know, and because you're building in such an excess, you're out producing so much. If you made millions and you go spend 25 grand on something, it's like I'm taking my daughter. She wants to renew her wedding vows, and we're going to be going up to Ireland with about 70, 80 of her dear friends. And I'm like, okay, here it comes. And this wedding, this party, this is a party, 3-day party, right? For 70 people will cost 200 grand.
Nice.
And to be able to have that kind of money and not mean I'm taking away from anything. Yeah. You know, I still have my houses, my cars, everybody's eating, all the companies are running fine. I didn't hurt anything. And I was able to give my beautiful daughter her dream, you know, and it's like, so it makes me feel good. And so when it's time to play, I have the money to go play big. Yeah. I mean, big. Right? Renting yachts and flying on private jets and all that stuff. It cost a lot of money, but I earned it. Yeah. But I don't ever allocate money. How do I want to say this? I pay myself first, meaning I pay for my future. I make sure there's money there to go ahead and make sure I always can have a bigger future because I want more. I want to have more. I want to play more. I love helping people. I want to be able to get out there, but I actually, even if I take a small percentage of that, you make a large number and you take a small percentage of it, it's still a large number. Yeah. And I'll tell you something, man, you start making this kind of money, even after a couple $1 million a year, actually you could probably start buying diamonds and weird jewelry, and I'm sure you can always figure out a way to spend it. But after a while, you just kind of hit a ceiling and you go, I have everything I want. I live a lifestyle I love. And yet I still have all this extra money. Yeah. And I have money for investments, and I have all this money for charities. You know, still keep giving millions of dollars a year to charities. So I don't want to get caught where materialisticness is best. Yeah. And I want to be materialistic, have nice clothes, nice, you know, you have a number of nice watches and some nice jewelry. And okay, when is enough, you know? And then you got some beautiful homes. How many more do I need? You know, it's just now it's like, okay, let's get back to being more businesses, have more fun with that. And you know, one of these days I might be able to buy a jet. I could probably do it if I did give all the money away, but but I don't even know if even if I had the money, if I would do so. I don't know if
Yeah.
it makes sense. So, but I think that the idea on it is that when you start looking at money and you look at it, it is an expression. How hard are you working? How smart are you working? How competent are you being? And in that income is a representation. You can graphically, you can put it on a graph and it'll say, and if it's going up, you're demonstrating more competency in life.
Mhm.
And to me, that's what it's about, right? It's like, and then I just turn my dial up and then turn the volume of me up. Go, good, let's go make more. Let's go do more. Not just for the sake of money, but to demonstrate my competency. Can I do it honestly, ethically, legally?
Yeah.
There's nothing illegal. I have no worries ever about the tax man go knocking on my door going, I go, oh, I don't have to worry.
Yeah.
Now, they might find something stupid because they normally try to look for something, but they're never going to find anything illegal ever.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, it's really trying to live life large and measure it.
Yeah.
And you know, and if you measure it in without giving money a dirty name, it is how here on earth we humans measure ourselves, is how much are we getting? And then I'd have to come back with the other measurement. What are you doing with it?
Yeah.
What good are you doing with it? So I get to feel very comfortable that because I give the majority of it away, I make a shitload of money, but I give a shitload away every year for things that I want to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
You know, to help my fellow man, my fellow woman, and kids, and all the things that come on into the world. So if you can keep both of those in balance, I think that's where you can feel pretty good about yourself.
Yeah.
And I like it.
So what keeps you hungry? Or well, actually, a previous question to that. You mentioned being hungry earlier. I don't get the impression that you're any less hungry now than what you described at, 25.
Okay. But I mean, all right. So like if you're a businessman, how big of a business? There's a company in New York, I believe it is, right? There's companies called like Apollo, and there's another company called BlackRock, I believe it's called, right? Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, BlackRock, they're an investment banking company. They help people like me, and they've come up and over about a 20-year period of time, they built this business that they manage $4 trillion worth of money.
Trillion.
Four trillion, not billion, trillion. So that's 4,000 billion, right? Which is like 400 million, like fuck. They make their own weather. And to me, it just demonstrates competency. They're so competent.
I've never heard that. They make their own weather.
Yeah, they you got that much money, they could go into an industry and just control it.
Yeah.
Right. And there's guys out there in the world. I don't personally know him, but what is that guy? The Hungarian guy, the one that is anti-American and
George Soros.
George Soros, right? He's a billionaire and he uses his money for the dark side of life. So
see, there's a lot of evidence to support that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. So this is like,
and there's a lot of smart, very well-connected people who also support that. And have that view.
And then, so there's a lot of people who work for I'm just going to call it the darker side of life. Well, what if I became very wealthy and I help my friends become very wealthy, and we use our billions of dollars for the brighter side of life, for life, not death, for life. You get back to those small 2% people and who infect the 18% people, and you get 20% of the people that didn't say they didn't make money. And what are they going to use that money for?
Yeah.
But if we could get the good guys, the guys, us that show up at the office every day, who show up to try to help our fellow workers, to help our people, and we could actually bring more good to the world, it would be a better world to live in.
Yeah.
So there's never a want for more things that are needed, right? And it's
like more physical things. Like that's not.
Yeah, it's not materialistic. No, but it's like, how many more schools can we help? Like, we're literally today working in here. If we reroute some of the money here. I can actually start a scholarship program that I can take kids here in the local area that are in high school and work a deal with them that I can get them a full ride scholarship to go to the Hubbard College of Administration and go learn a trade that I can actually help them get that education paid for. And they can do internships for my company. I can help them get a job. They can have a high paying job. And it's like, how do you use this money to constantly build a better world? It's like in your business, I would imagine every time you guys get some more money, if you had better tools to do your construction job, bigger forklifts, bigger bobcats, bigger, you could do bigger jobs, and you get your own crane and you get all these different things and you can now do more. Well, it just takes money to be able to grow bigger, right? If you're a developer, if you had more capital, you could develop bigger projects, okay? And it's just bigger, and bigger is better. It just is. I don't know of anyone in the world who doesn't want more.
Yeah.
So like it's just, and I'm no different. I'm just a normal guy who got some, this time figured out how to way to keep it and then and get a continuation going on, and that perpetualness there, just keeping it growing and growing and growing. How big can we make this game get? Because I don't know if there's not an athlete in the world out there that is always looking for the world record. How do I break it? Seriously, that's called a game.
Yeah.
It's a game. Like, how do I break the world record? How do I become the best? How do I become the GOAT? How do you, tell me someone out there in the game of the new National Football League that does not want to take Tom Brady's spot.
Absolutely.
Come on, that's the game.
Yeah.
How do I take that guy who walked on water for how long and became like, or Michael Jordan if you're in basketball, or Muhammad Ali. These guys were like, what? So admirable.
Yeah.
How talented they were. And look at the world they just gave the world to them.
Yeah.
And it's like, why not try to be like that? Why not try to be the best? And Kobe Bryant, and it's and this is like what I learned from these guys is like how much they practice, how much they kept working on being better themselves and trying to improve their game to be more affluent, to be more graceful and be more talented and be more able, and competent. It's really what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, I think one of the most dangerous things I've ever heard moms say to their kids, like, be careful. Oh,
Yeah,
no. Don't be careful. Be competent.
Yeah.
Have fun, kill it, go do whatever you want, be competent, and if you just are competent, odds are you're not going to get hurt.
That's right.
Because even if you're careful, you can still get hurt.
That's right.
But just live life large. And that's the whole point, because it's a joy. It's funny, like people say you work too much. I go, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I love what I do. How would you define? Yes, it's efforty, and there's times when I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do now, and it's like hard, and you're trying to figure it out, and how am I going to get from point A to point B, and all this stuff, and how are you going to work this out? And but that's the joy of living. Yeah, that's the joy, and it's complete joy. So there's never an effort to it. I still to this day I have this rule that I don't leave Sunday night without every email answered. I got 4 email accounts I have, and they just keep growing, and they get hundreds and hundreds of emails every week. And I make sure that every one of them gets answered, everything gets filed, everything gets done.
I want to emphasize this point. So people call this inbox zero. Some people do this like annually. He hits inbox zero every week.
Yeah, by Sunday.
Yeah.
No,
that's incredible.
Yeah, I just got to get zeroed out. Now, some of them are opinion I can't finish them.
Yeah.
But if I go from 200 in, I'm probably down to, I have 4 in baskets. There probably maybe between the 4 of them, 20 of them.
Yeah.
That I still need to carry on to the next week.
Yeah.
So I try to get all of those done. And it makes me feel good. And then I have a cigar and I watch a movie. And if I'm not going to school, I'll have a glass of wine or a beer. And I'm just like, okay, I can go back and go down to Huntington Beach and go chase all the girls in their bikinis. Just don't tell my wife. Right?
I won't. Okay, so Tom, last question, because we're coming up on time here. Hopefully this isn't an unfair question.
Okay.
But in your opinion, what is the number one rule of success?
Well, first of all, there's not a rule.
Of
right?
course. The question is, what is the most senior?
People, without any reservation or anything like that. Human resource department, you know, and I have to answer it in multiple phases. You know, we as business people go like, what does it take to get everyone on the same page, operating the same way? Well, first thing you got to do is show them the page. Got to
Yeah.
give them the page.
Yeah.
And the page has to be written so they can understand and duplicate it. You got, you know, and then you have to get them to read it. You have to check their comprehension of it. How would they apply it? How would they use it? How is it real? And you got to keep coming back on it because, you know, and sometimes it's a foreign concept. And, you know, and it's the people you got to watch with them. You know, the human resource department is the key to any business, you know, because it's your people that are going to make or break you. Okay. And if you can get in there and your department one, your personnel department is critical. They have all the hattie material. You know, you're a business owner. I'm a business owner. We have to make the knowledge of our business known.
Yeah.
We have to write it up, put all that together, give it to the people in Division One. They train the staff on it. They make sure they know how to do the job. They're there to make our dreams come true. And then to me, if you have that strong, you have a chance. If you don't, you don't. And so I would have to say the secret success is, how do you empower people so they too can make their dreams come true?
Wow.
And if you can do that, and they feel competent and they feel careful, because different people have different levels of, this is what I want from life.
Yeah.
It's okay with me.
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, and it's like, but can they come in, work for me for 8-9 hours a day, 5 days a week, and feel fulfilled and do a good job, and they know how to do it, and they feel competent, and they know that, then they're secure. They know they have something that they don't have to worry on, and then they can go do the rest of their life, or whatever that is for them. You know, not everyone wants to own the business, right? So I would have to say, if you figure out how to help people win in life, and they're your staff members, you have a chance to greatness. If you don't, I don't see it happening.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Okay, well, we'll have to end it there because we're up on time. If you want to follow Tom, please do. Please, even if you don't want to follow him anyways, because I told you to. He's at Cummins Worldwide on all the socials. He is on all the socials.
Yeah.
Well made sure
it's
of
one
that.
of the companies they have is called Attention Grabbing Media. And they'll take this video and they'll make like 30 shorts out of it, and they'll put it all over. And honest to God, if you told me to log into Facebook on my phone, I wouldn't know how to do it. Okay. And I got thousands of followers, tens of thousands. I'm like, this is a trip. But it's an opportunity to help people.
We need to make it millions.
Exactly. Let's just go do that.
Yeah. Dude, you're the man. Thank you so much for being here.
Welcome.